I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to get started. Dave, do you have any questions on the attendance?
Nope.
And we have some additions, corrections to the board agenda.
Yep, first one I added to JAG Pride, so I added number 3 to JAG Pride. In the election resolution, we had someone come in and file today, so I added that individual's name. And then the 2 quotes did come in for the architect bid for the daycare, so those were added as well.
Does anybody else have anything? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is open forum. Rules for open forum. There are 3 minutes per speaker. Open forum shall not take more than a total of 15 minutes. No complaints about individual staff members, about students, or about other persons are permitted. All presenters will conduct their business in a manner that meets community standards for decorum. The board will not take action on items presented in open forum. Did anybody sign up?
No.
Does anybody wish to speak during open forum? All right, and we will move on. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anyone need anything pulled from the consent agenda and placed later in the?
I would like Kelsey Smith's resignation pulled till later.
All right, does anybody else want anything pulled? Was anything added?
No.
Then I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda by changing it less,
Pulling the one.
yeah, pulling Kelsey's name.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain. Motion passes 6-0. Next up is the bills. If you have any questions on the bills, please state the page number and the bill number. Does anybody have any questions on the bills? If there are no questions on the bills, I'm looking for a motion to pay our bills.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is superintendent's report. Mr. Masterson.
I want to start with inviting all board members to our back to school lunch, which is on Monday, August 25th. It starts serving at noon, so if you could let either Jill, Carlier, or myself know by early next week if you plan to attend, that would be great. Also, is the board interested in planning a new staff coffee and conversation in the first few weeks of September? We've done that tradition. I think we've done it almost every year that I've been here. Are there any dates? Do you want me to send out dates this week that at least work for the 3 of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
I think it's a great idea to continue to have.
I think so too.
Okay. I'll send out dates this Friday to see if it works for board members. We usually meet in the boardroom and connect for about half hour, 40 minutes, just how their first few weeks of school have gone. They get to know you, you get to know the new staff. It's kind of a fun little bit of afternoon learning about our new staff. Next, I put my proposed goals for the 25-26 school year. I created these based on feedback the board gave me during my evaluation last month. So the 5 that I came up with based on that feedback: continue to improve and address the staff climate and staff morale, support effective communication throughout the district with video messaging, newspaper articles, and utilizing the district website, be visible in all buildings and classrooms in the district, visible at district events. My goal is to get into each classroom. My goal today is 4 times a year, but I put it as multiple just to, in case things come up, but I hope to get into each classroom. at least for once a quarter. And then going on, ensure that all handbook policies, procedures are followed as written and with consistency. And then lastly, remain fiscally responsible with our district budget. Any questions or feedback or changes you'd like me to see on the goals anyway?
No.
Okay, otherwise, moving on. These numbers, which are changing probably almost by the hour, but they were as of August 1st, our enrollment. It does not include Empower. Empower enrollment usually comes towards the end of this month, the first couple of weeks of September. So I hope to be able to give you that accurate number at our next board meeting. But at least as of August 1st, you can see our total enrollment at that time was 783. I did pull May's, which was the last time I shared enrollment with you. And in that May 2025, I did pull off Empower, just so you could see comparable apples to apples. We had budgeted this year for 825. Typically Empower has 20, at least they have the last couple of years. We're hoping for more, but if we look at 20 as being the number we've used, you know, we'd be at right around that 803. We have had, the admin assistants have said they've given out a lot of enrollment packets. We haven't seen a lot of them come back yet, but we're seeing ads, withdraws, things like that. The admin team and I were out at a training last week, so I have not had a chance to start calling those who have left, but that is on my radar of things to do this month. Otherwise, I'll have updated enrollment for you again monthly as we go through the year. And the last thing in my report, we will start talking about levy quite a bit in September, September, October, November, December. In September, the board usually sets the preliminary levy. So I just put in some more, same literature that I'd given you in years past, but just to kind of refresh your memories. And then I also included our testing calendar for this year, which is subject to change based on how it's going, but that's what our testing calendar, at least as of today, looks like. Any questions?
So you said you will be calling those families who decided to leave the school district for this upcoming school year?
Yep, that's my plan.
Okay. Will we get feedback?
Yes. Yep. I will share what the common themes or the themes are from those phone calls.
When we looked at numbers this time last year, did we gain students or lose students between the first couple weeks of August and starting school day?
I'd have to, I believe we lost, I don't know that accurate. I think
Okay.
my memories, I think we lost, but I don't remember that. I can get that answer to you or to the board. I think we lost from August to September. I can't remember how much.
Okay.
But I can get that.
If we come in lower than what you budgeted for, are you gonna adjust the budget a little bit to decrease it?
The best we can. I mean, it's a little harder now with staff and positions and their contract and things like that, but we'll adjust where we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So information had come out in the governor's proposed budget about some potential funding with all schools within the state of Minnesota with loss of enrollment. I didn't follow up to see, did that pass? Where is it at? Is that funding that can be accessed if needed?
Declining enrollment funding. So we will get aid for declining enrollment, which will come out when they release the levy information in September.
Okay.
They don't take away all that revenue at once, like we don't lose it all immediately. It's adjustments that come in the levy to kind of offset. You know, they will look at our October 1 number, then of course numbers change throughout the year, so adjustments will come in the next levy cycle, and we'll have that idea a little bit better about a month from now.
Okay. But that was put into the governor's budget specifically because of declining enrollment throughout
The whole state,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Masterson? No. All right, thank you, Mr. Masterson. We are gonna move on to high school principal report, Mr. Lattimore.
Good evening, good to see everybody again. We had a great summer. So it is handbook time, so that's the first thing that we start off with here is proposed changes. So I do have a proposed changes document for you. What we're proposing to change at the high school. We are putting back in tardies as a, it was taken out last year and it just didn't have the effect that we wanted to, so we rewrote that, so we have some consequences that go with it, that hopefully we can get students back in class in a timely manner, or to class in a timely manner. Our goal is to pull reports once a week, and that's why you see in there would be 3 tardies in a weekly report. We're gonna pull a report on Tuesdays or Wednesdays to see where we're at, and then they will have the consequences for those tardies later in the week as we go through that. So that's that one piece that we're adding. I did change the policy for drugs in the school. We were working with our school social worker, Ms. Greenwald, to see if there was a way that we could find ways to educate students. So we worked with the American Lung Association. They have a half-day program that students can attend with parental approval. So we just made that first one that they would come to school the next day and have to sit through the, I believe it's about a 4-hour presentation that they go through about what's happening in the, why this is such a negative effect on the youth. So we're just trying to make it more educational for students as well, instead of just having to be a punitive. So that's one of the changes we made there. Flexing. Flexing has gotten out of hand in the last few years, so we are kind of streamlining that. So it'll be students that take college classes will be able to flex on Fridays only, and we will study halls will go to study hall, and then they go to the senior lounge if they're a senior. So that's one thing that we are changing to try and keep kids in the classroom too. That's the first time they're hearing it behind me, so that's.
I'm watching there.
Yeah, this next one's gonna kill them too. So as we've seen throughout Minnesota and in Pine County, cell phones have become an issue. So I am proposing to the board that we change our cell phone policy to bell to bell. So for all grades 7 through 12, no cell phones throughout the day. So earbuds, cell phones. So it got to be too much of a distraction, and as we see our youth today, it's an addiction. So if we can get them away from their phones and actually interacting with everybody that's in front of them, I think it'll help our mental health a lot, and get rid of some of our concerns that we have in the school day. The next one is academic eligibility. This was put together by our activities director, Mandy Hartle, to go through, and that was added this morning because I thought it was in hers, I didn't know it was in mine, so that's the coaching handbook one, which is next month. But she did reach out to coaches to kind of see where we were on that. She did a great a study about what others in the Great River Conference were doing, and they kind of came to a different proposal, which still has some meat to it, but it was not as punitive. If you looked around the conference, we had one of the most punitive type of policies when it came to academics. So we're just trying to get ours in line with everybody else's. So that was put forth there. If you have any questions on that, I will get back to you on that with Ms. Hartle, and I'll have that for you next month as well if there's any follow-up questions you have for that one. So that's for the student handbook, staff handbook, just some things that went through with weight training, and our choir director, Mr. Sorum, wanted to change some things around when it came to all-state choir and honor choir. So there were just a few things that were changed in that. For that one, and that was only the biggest change there. Substitute handbooks not changing, so those are the proposed changes that I have for the handbooks for this year. Do we want to act on it, or we want to go through it all first? Go through the rest of the report, or do you guys have questions on that part first?
I had a couple questions.
Sure.
on handbooks.
Let's do questions.
Yep.
Okay, let's start. So I was looking at the teacher handbook and under contact information if somebody's gonna be out. Oh, I wrote page, sorry, I didn't write what page number it was. It has your cell phone in there and Amy's cell phone. Do you really, I mean, is Amy okay having her cell phone?
Yes. So
Okay.
she actually tells staff, like, if you're going to be gone the next day, please like text me. If you know that you're sick at midnight, just text me. I'll see it on my phone when I get up right away. Then I can get that going.
Okay.
So this is a staff book that just goes out to staff. This doesn't go out to
Okay, just so,
the community.
yeah, that was my concern. Okay.
No, that would not be good.
Yes, your cell phone either. I was like, oh my goodness. And then on page 6,
Of the staff handbook?
yes.
Okay.
So on page 6 of the staff handbook, it was talking about passing grades.
Mhm.
And let me find it. Where page am I on? So it talked about with students showing 100% participation in school or in their class. Let me find it really quick. So the second bullet where it said evidence of a student putting forth 100% effort include but are not limited, and listed all of them down. But then the last one is if the student is meeting the requirements, they should be giving a passing grade regardless of their percentage. So I get that if they're showing 100%, but my concern is if a student is not passing, there's a problem and something needs to be corrected. So whether it's the student isn't understanding the information, if there needs to be accommodations, so I can understand that. But then on the flip side of that, I can also see, could this get abused? Where a teacher might have leniency that you're not giving your effort that you could, and you're failing your classes, but I do have this option that I can pass you.
And I think Mr. Master can add, kind of fill on that one, because I think, did this one come in during like COVID times, or is that?
No, it's
that's
been
always
there.
Okay.
It's been there since
Okay.
I've been here.
So I can answer that by answering something further down on my report. One of the things that we're going to be looking at this year is grading, and what does a grade mean? So that's one thing that we've already talked about with our, with the building leadership team, to try and kind of talk about what grading looks like, and what we want that to look like. So that's one of the goals that I have further down in the report, is that we need to figure out what grading looks like. So there's at least, when kids go from one class to the other class, there's some kind of, framework in place that students know what is going to be needed to be successful in our school. So that's one thing that we are looking at. But yeah, that's, I did not change anything with that on here, but that's one thing that we'll be looking at moving forward, is how we grade and what we're grading.
Okay. Yeah, because then the other side of it too is if the students aren't passing, we're also failing them. That's my other concern. And so for their success in life, that's just why I bring it up. Because, if you're on a job, there's not necessarily the leniency. So.
Yep, and like I said, that's one thing we're gonna be working on this year in our PLCs, is what grading will look like, and how we want to assess, what those assessments will look like by content, by grade, and so we get an idea of what kids do actually know.
Is there a way to really evaluate for consistency? Because in grading, that's a really hard question, I know, because it is, there's many factors.
Right, and that's one thing that we're gonna be looking at this year with the leadership team and then through PLCs is what do we want it to look like, right? Because we could like have a large percentage of our stuff just go for daily attendance or just being in the class, right? Well, is that what we're teaching the kids, or is the content what we need to teach the students? So that's part of it too, that conversation we're having this year. So this is something that kind of came to the radar last year and that we needed to start working towards this year and years moving forward, just because it's something that I mean, you're right, when you get assessed in your job, it's about your performance. It's not always just, hey, I showed up. I show up and sit at my desk all day and do nothing.
Yeah, so that, obviously that's part of
Right.
school.
Yeah.
You're educating, but you're also helping prepare for life.
I would say from my time at the high school, it was if a kid is struggling, the teachers are working with that kid, even they may be giving their full effort, but there are some interventions that are happening along the way. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Masterson? Like, so it's not just like, I'm looking at Janelle, she really looks like she's trying her best, even though she's not really succeeding, I'm just gonna pass her. There's usually some conversations and interventions that are in place. From my time, that was there, but I don't know if that's still happening, I would assume.
Okay. Thank you. And that's it for me.
I do have a question for Bonnie and Joe, or either one of you. We do have early release on Wednesdays. Do you know, does Pine City or Mora have early release on any day of their school week?
Not that I know of. I don't know what their new schedule looks like, but I believe as of last year, they did not.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay. I'm just curious if we could maybe take a hard look at how they get their,
PD time.
yeah, get their time in for the teaching staff. Because my concern is that with the partial day, could we have like maybe like more extra full days off for the students, run the buses less, burn less diesel, lower our transportation expenses, take a little bit of load off our budget because we're really strained. And they're very successful. Their test scores are higher than our test scores. Maybe that's a draw, maybe it's a selling point. Instead of kids getting out early, now parents have to be concerned about who's gonna watch the kids when they get home early if they're at work. Or just the inconvenience of having your schedule altered Wednesday, but not Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday and Friday. It's just like, kind of throws a wrench in your schedule. Kind of lose that continuity that you take through the week. Is that something we could look at? Or
Yeah, I think we
research?
talk about it every year at it comes up every year when we meet with a professional development team. Like what is the best way to approach getting the professional development that we wanna focus on? How do we get that? Can we do it in that hour-and-a-half increment of time? Is it best to have, more of those full days? And this is kind of the schedule that we've determined what works best for us. I hear you, I'm not saying we can't go back and dig a little bit farther, but we do have those discussions, I will say. I guess that's my point, is we continue, and we don't wanna flip-flop it every year either, for the consistency for the parents and the families, so. I
Right.
guess we think we're doing what's best for our kids and our families by keeping some of that consistency.
Is there any chance our school district could reach out to Pine City and Mora and just see how they like it compared to how we're doing? What are their advantages and disadvantages?
We have done that, I can do it again, but we have that data from years past.
Wouldn't we save expenses on transportation costs by running the buses a number of times less each year?
Yes.
And it's not exactly cheap to run a bus, multiple bus routes for multiple
We could
days.
also lose student days. So is 6 hours better than no hours? We'd have to have that conversation too. It could be less student days depending on how we fit that in with the teachers, 182 days.
And I'd be curious to know how many teaching days does Pine City and Mora have with the way they do it, with a full day off for the kids, potentially, if I'm understanding that. Maybe they don't have partial days like we do.
I know one thing that comes up at our professional development meetings is getting those kids in the building, at least they're getting fed and they're having, you know, some of that structure, which we don't know if they're getting that when they're not in school, those 6 hours. We have different demographics than Pine City and Mora as well, I mean.
Sure. It's a way of looking at it.
So back in December last year, that survey did go out about the calendar. And I will be honest with you, I was really surprised by that with that survey because I expected the community. So 63% of the parents and guardians had felt that it was good to continue to have the early release on Wednesday. And then 61% of staff felt that early release on Wednesdays should remain. So I have to be honest with you, I was surprised. I thought it would have been the opposite, like families not wanting that early release. I think maybe initially because I remember talking with Mr. Masterson about it, that initially it was an adjustment, but now it seems like people are more used to that. And so that's why I honestly was really surprised from those results back in December of '24.
And we have, like with the change of our school day as well, that Wednesday becomes 45 minutes instead of what it used to be, because we're done at 2:55. We couldn't change it to meet because of busing, so it's 2:10 as a release still on Wednesday. So at the high school, we lose 45 minutes each week, so.
Yeah.
But with the new schedule, we were able to keep our advisory and all of our classes, all 7 periods, so that was awesome that we were able to figure out a way to keep our advisory all 5 days as well.
I do remember hearing from staff members when this was discussed at last year's and 3 years previous, that it is so much easier to catch a student that is falling behind every week than it is every 6 weeks. If we have 1 day off every 6 weeks, like Pine City or Mora, that child is going 5 weeks instead of 1 week without getting services. And I think that is very important for Hinckley-Finlayson and our demographics. And I will keep saying it, that's what our staff also have said, that they appreciate the time that they get instead of waiting or a kid falling through the cracks for 5-6 weeks. That's a long time, Toby, in 2nd, 3rd grade when you can't read. And yes, I understand the busing costs, but we're also giving jobs. Most of our bus drivers are retired part-time individuals that are taxpayers that live in our district. So I think there's a little catch-22 there, are you hearing people that don't like it? Have people brought it forward to you that they don't like it?
I don't like it. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that don't like it either.
But we sent a
So,
survey out
Jody,
and we didn't get that data back.
When you talk about services, what do you mean by that? Not getting services?
Bonnie, like they don't get titles, they fall behind. In the classroom, they wouldn't be caught.
Well, a lot of that Wednesday time during PLCs, we'll look at student data to identify holes of like where, what's being taught. If they're not getting it, what are we gonna do? How do we adjust that? That's a lot of our PLC time, especially this year when we're realigning some, the ELA standards with our curriculum. Like, what more where can we provide those additional services, or what supports can we give that child, based on the student work and data that has come to us? Where if we're doing a PD day once every 6 weeks or so, where then we look at that data, how do we go back and recover some of that time, I think is what Jody's saying during that
Thank
PLC
you for
time.
explaining.
So there's no communication outside of those PLC days?
Oh, we talk all the time, but is there time to sit down and do the work that's being done? No. I mean, to be honest, teachers are already looking and working outside of their contract time just to do what is required of them in a school day. to sit down and collaborate and dig into some of that, there's not that time in a school day. Especially when we have coaches and what that are just leaving right after school and getting to their next obligation. But they have their 50-minute contractual prep time, but they have a lot of things to prep and correct and all the things that they're doing.
They meet together as a team. So like your prep times aren't gonna coincide. So like if
Not
you've
at the high
got,
school.
yeah,
Yeah, easier at the elementary, but not at the high school.
yeah, so that would be difficult with prep times being different. To try and coincide that to work together as a team.
I would think there needs to be communication every single day, not just during professional development. There shouldn't be anyone falling through cracks. Even if you go 5 days a week, full days.
Toby, do you have any other questions?
I don't, Jody, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Thank you. So let's go to the cell phone policy. My concern with the cell phone policy is giving your cell phone, or a student giving their cell phone to a staff or a teacher. I don't think that is a good idea. I understand the last sentence. The district at no time is liable for damage of a lost student's cell phone or other electronic device. But I don't think that, I think they should, a student's cell phone should be in the student's, unless for disciplinary reasons. It should always be in the locker, locked. I think when we start handing out cell phones and having staff have to, be responsible for another person's cell phone, I don't think that's a good idea.
How we've worked it, so when we've had it for 7th and 8th grade this last year, what we did is if the teacher would take it, the teacher would either put it in their desk or they would let us know, and then we had a drawer down in the office that it was stored in until the end of the day, and then they would come down at the last bell and then come get their stuff.
I just think that's putting additional, I mean, all the cell phones in the building, I just think that's additional responsibility for our teachers, and I don't think they need that. Did we ask our teachers or our staff?
I didn't ask necessarily for that, just because we did it for 7th and 8th graders this last year, like, we just put it in the drawer and then they come get it. I don't remember there being any problems during the school year with that, in terms of like lost or damaged. I did send one out to see where our teachers felt we needed to go forward with this. As you know, Pine City, East Central are doing it this year. Willow, Barnum did it last year. I believe North Branch did it last year, last year. So it's kind of the trend where everybody's going. And that's some of the ideas.
I don't mind that, I just mind,
Well, the problem-
I have concerns with putting one more thing on our staff.
Right.
And $1,000 cell phone, because most of them are expensive. I can't agree with that.
Do we know what some of the other, how are they managing cell phones at some of the others?
So one of them was just like that, like just
Okay.
take it and bring it, either call the office, or if the kid doesn't give it up, and the office comes and gets it. And we just put a little post-it note on it, put it in the drawer, and they come and get it at the end of the day.
And I'm not talking about disciplinary, I'm talking about checking it in with a teacher from 8:05 to 2:55.
Well, no, it's supposed to be in their, it should be in their locker.
Oh.
This one is about, and maybe I didn't word it right, but it should be in their locker, hopefully locked, because not all of them lock them. But this is for if you have it on you and you're not supposed to have it on you, I'm going to take it from you.
It's for disciplinary.
So disciplinary.
So they don't automatically come in and give it to the teacher?
No,
It should be
it
locked
should
up.
be locked in their locker. And if I didn't write that right, then I apologize.
It says, all students in grades 7 through 12 cell phones must stay in their locker or be checked in with a teacher from 8:05 to 2:55.
Okay?
I guess I don't agree with putting a $1,000 device in a locker. You could have your neighbor next to you look at your combination as you're dialing it in, and then by the end of the school day, they go in and steal it, and then your child's cell phone is gone.
They should leave it at home.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the kid needs to be contactable after school. How about turn it off, power it down, and keep it in their pocket?
And maybe that's where the check it in with somebody, with a teacher.
Yeah,
If they want to not leave it in their locker, they can.
we do that at the elementary, if a kid brings their phone, whether they've had issues or not, and if they don't want it in their locker, our elementary lockers don't lock. So they can bring it in the office, we have a drawer, there it is, and they get it after school.
So is that something that could be worded in there, is it can be checked in at the office or left in their locker?
Like if you're not comfortable leaving it in your locker.
That would take it off of the teachers, and it would just go right to
Into
the
the office.
office.
And we have locked compartments there, we can lock it up and they power it down, they put it in there and
cameras.
cameras.
And the only other thing I don't see in here is, cell phones are used for medical devices. And I think there should be language that says that, because they have to be on their body.
Yes. Let me see my other one here.
I don't think they should be out, and I don't think they should be able to use them, but they do need to be on their body for devices to work. Or nearby.
Thought I might have missed that one. So yes, that was one of them where it'd have to have like a medical, like doctor's note saying, yes, this has to be on here to check for insulin levels or something like that, yeah.
Can you refresh my memory? What was the policy on smartwatches, on watches?
I didn't put it in this one, I did the earbuds, but I didn't put it in there and
Because essentially you can have all your information on your watch. Is
Right. So if it's not close to you, right, it'd be tough to get to.
True.
And I don't know, maybe my smartwatch, I don't have the technology, but we can't be like sending and doing TikToks and Instagram, I don't, Snapchats on these as well, so. I mean, that's something we can revisit as the year goes on. If it's something that we need to correct, I can come back to you and just let you know that this is something that we need to.
And the only reason I'm thinking about is that a workaround. Same thing with burner phones.
Well, it's the same with the Chromebooks, right? So
Yeah, and the
the
burner
workaround is that they're gonna put stuff on the Chromebook, or they're gonna be able to figure out ways to get stuff on Chromebook, where they're gonna be able to, like Google Docs became a huge communication tool for our 7th and 8th graders, because they didn't have their devices on them, but they could figure out how to communicate, so,
There's always a way.
yeah. Unless we just go back to slate and chalk, I don't know, that's.
Well, we'll work on penmanship, handwriting.
Yeah.
Handwriting skills will
We'll go back
improve.
to cursive, yeah.
I didn't mind those little whiteboards.
I'll get that medical reasons on there as well, so.
Do you think if we gave the flexibility to students to be able to keep their phones in their pocket if they're powered off, that might make parents a little bit happier? And maybe that would give us the option, or at least the potential to maybe reduce attrition, because our school district is really leading the way in attrition. And if we can look for any little way to reduce the attrition, maybe there's some parents out there that want their kids to have it in their pocket, but if you have a policy where they can't, let's say they're a responsible student, they do keep it powered down all day long, but you tell them you can't have it in your pocket anyway, under any situation, even if you are a responsible student, you're just gonna make the parents upset. And they're maybe more likely gonna, if they're on the fence, maybe they're just gonna make the jump to Pine City or Mora. And maybe we wanna give parents an excuse to stay here at Hinckley-Finlayson. And how about, could we give good students and the parents who have those good students, if they're able to keep them powered off, let them have that option. But if they do take it out of their pocket, or if it rings or vibrates, then we have to go to Plan B.
If it's powered off, what benefit is there to having it in your pocket?
Then it's not gonna get lost or damaged.
But if there's options to keep it locked in your locker, leave it at home, or check it into the office, why would you need to have your phone powered off in your pocket?
Okay, so where would it be if it's not in your pocket, in your locker or in the office, is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, those are the options,
Okay,
or
so
at home.
my fear would be if my son's phone is in a locker, my fear is theft. If it gets dropped off at the office, maybe it accidentally gets shuffled around with some other phones in a drawer, or maybe it gets handed to the wrong phone gets handed to the wrong student, and then, oh, it's not my phone, or maybe it accidentally gets dropped, or maybe it gets scratched. Just, little things like that.
But that's the risk you take when you send something like that to school. Whether it's a phone or money, or like if you're bringing it to school, like you're responsible for that.
Right.
Like whatever happens to it.
Sure, if we want to be a real rigid school district, we can definitely have policies like that, but parents might prefer to take their student to go to a school district that's a little bit less rigid.
Can I chime in on that? Every school in Pine County from Willow River down to Pine City is doing away with cell phones for the day this upcoming year.
So they can't have them in their pocket powered down.
I believe they have to be in their lockers, is what I've seen on every social media post that I've seen. And the second point I want to bring up is we've done what you're suggesting probably since cell phones became more predominant. It was the rule, at least in my principal time, where it can be on your possession as long as it's off, not seen, not heard. It becomes a very big management situation, or maybe one classroom. There's a little bit more opportunities to be on the phone, especially as the kids get older. And I think what Mr. Lattimore's got to do is make plans that work for the whole building. Yes, some kids absolutely have not burnt that bridge, have followed the rules, but so many have taken advantage of that or pulled it out when maybe the teacher couldn't see them, or they're pretty sneaky where they have these phones. And at least in my time as principal, that texting, social media communication became such an issue that we had to deal with in the office. I mean, it was all the time. This Snapchat, this text, this whatever the kids are using happened throughout the day. And we had the rule that you were just recommending or suggesting, not seen, not heard, powered off in your pocket, but it becomes such a distraction for really the entire building, but especially our younger grades. But I think it's become more of a problem each year as the kids continue to get older as well.
And it takes it off the teacher's plate to enforce all that. Just, it's not there. They got enough to do teaching them rather than watching if they're cheating with a cell phone or talking to somebody or not paying attention. Does away with all of that if it's not in the classroom. It's enough, teachers got enough to do.
So yeah, simplifying and keeping it consistent. Because if somebody has it in a pocket, then, I mean, it's just gonna snowball, is how I see it.
I just don't think there's a need for it. In my personal opinion. We survived.
Because if you need to get a hold of your kids, my son doesn't have a cell phone. I call the office and they're wonderful. They'll get him a message. I didn't have an issue at all last year with getting him a message. He got every message that I called with. So it might be more work now for those in the office, but our teachers now can teach. They won't have that distraction of a kid trying to sneak their phone behind their computer, or I think they just need to go away because it's no.
I'd rather see the teachers teach instead of
Right.
babysit.
Yeah.
Do we know, what about Mora? What's their cell phone policy?
I don't know more.
I was just looking to see on their website if they had anything for Mora.
They have the least attrition out of all the neighboring school districts and the highest test scores.
They do have some teachers that require students to put their phones in a little pocket, and if they
I've
don't
seen
put their
that,
phone in the
yeah.
pocket, they do not get counted for attendance, so they're marked absent.
That's at Mora?
One of my son's teachers had that, yeah.
All right, so Mr. Lattimore, you're looking for approval for the Oh wait, did we get through the there was no changes on
No,
substitute
no.
handbook? Okay, so we did get through all the changes for your handbooks. So you're looking for a motion to approve proposed changes to the 25-26 handbook. I'm looking for a motion.
Do you need to make the changes before we approve? Or no, because you've got a few adjustments.
Yeah, I have them written down here, I can get that cleared up. I don't know.
Okay.
Do we need to wait till next month to do it, or?
No, I mean, you could make a motion with the discussed changes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I can bring it back to you next month then, whatever. We're just gonna look for medical reasons, as one of them. And then checked in with the office, already put it in there. I took that piece out about the
Teachers?
teachers having, yeah.
Did you have some questions?
My thought is you should approve the handbooks tonight, because then they're ready for the start of the school year. And if you want to see Mr. Lattimore make some tweaks to what he proposed, have him, make the motion with those proposed changes that the board discussed. So that way it doesn't have to come back next month for approval.
So somebody has to make a motion with proposed changes.
I'll make the proposed changes. I'll second that.
Mr. Lattimore, is Friday too soon to have the proposed changes sent to the board through Mr. Masterson?
Yes, I should be able to do that.
Okay. If
Just-
not
just
next,
depending on
if
the
not
fa-
next
I have
Friday,
a family thing going on this week, so I don't know what it's gonna look like after Wednesday, so
so how about next Friday?
I'm gonna try for this Friday, but if I can't, then I'll just let Mr. Masterson.
All right, is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Is this a motion to approve all of these handbooks simultaneously? Or one at a time?
I was approving all of them.
I'm okay with
Motion was
approving all of, everything except the student handbook due to the early release on Wednesday.
What was your motion, Dave, to approve all three?
With the proposed changes on the cell phone.
Can I ask a question? Maybe, with the early release, didn't we approve that when we approved the calendar?
Correct.
So is that something we should even not be like talking about right now?
The calendar was set back in February or March.
Because I remember having this conversation not that long ago.
Well,
And
I
we
think that's
approved
why
the
we did
calendar.
the survey was done in December,
Mm-hmm.
because there was the discussion about the calendar.
Yeah, and we approved the calendar for this
Yep, for
upcoming
the
school year
which include-
with early release dates.
Correct.
So,
So that's not on this motion then?
It's in the Bell schedules in their handbooks, so, but I don't, Mr. Lattimore is not proposing changes to.
No,
We can't change the school calendar.
Correct.
right.
You
Okay.
could change start and end time of classes, but we have Wednesday early releases, that was already approved.
So I'm understanding that correctly then?
Correct.
That-
If
okay.
if you didn't
You know
like how long the
this year.
classes were, you could change that, but Wednesdays, the board's already approved that we're getting out an hour early.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
We'll do roll call. Leo?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Toby?
No.
Janelle?
yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Jody, yes. Motion passes 6-1. Mr. Lattimore, would you like to continue with your,
Sure. So those are some of the events that we had that I went to. Mr. Masterson, Ms. Scullard, and Mr. Horbach and I were able to go to St. Cloud last week. A great learning seminar that we had. Looking forward to putting some of those things into place here this year. So I'm really excited about that moving forward. I have attached the workshop agenda for the high school. Our hiring update is we've got all of our classrooms with a teacher in it. We're just looking for a dean of students / behavior interventionist still. We've had some interview rounds and just still looking, so we will keep that open and see what we find. One of the things that I'm going to be proposing to the teachers here this year, my goals is going to be academic, using data to drive decision making, also looking at grading this year, behavior, continue to work with all of our stakeholders to create an environment that meets all of our students. And with that, we'll be refocusing our efforts on our Scott Urban piece that we went through last year. So I'm looking forward to working through that. And kind of my thing for this year is we're getting back to our ABCs. So we're gonna be working on academics, behavior. If we can do that stuff, that can change the culture / climate. So that's what we're working for this year. You can kind of see the events coming up. UCARO training is the new training that replaces the de-escalation of CPI. It's a new format that we'll be using for students in crisis that have not met the need for like a hands-on, which CPI will still have CPI for that. But UCARO, that's what that is. So it'll be a de-escalation, verbal de-escalation of students in crisis. And 7th grade orientation will be the 27th, and open house will be the 27th and we're going to have our 9th grade meeting again at 4:30 to go through driver's ed and grad requirements. September 2nd will be JAG Crew Day. Excited about that. Mr. Linden and Mr. Faber put a lot of time in here this summer for that, so I appreciate all their work with that. 7th and 8th grade, we will have students working on some things. 9th grade is going to be like an academy deal, so we've had some great work on that. I'm really excited for our 9th graders to go through that day. They put in a lot of great work on that to kind of get students thinking about careers and what they want to do, and then what those careers require of them to be successful in high school. So start really thinking about what I want to do in high school to meet that career goal. So really excited about that opportunity that we're going to have there. And finally, we have 3 student school board members here today. Last spring, I sent out a form, which student school board member Osmus was very disappointed about that I had made them do work. But just a form that we sent out to kind of judge what they want to do it for, why they want to be here, what are they looking to get out of it. So these 3 had some great responses. So I'd like you to introduce Haley Geiger, Riley Windsor-Scott, and the aforementioned Grady Osmond. So. Welcome.
Thank you, students, for doing this. It's extra time and work, but it'll be fun.
Well, we appreciate you.
That's it, Mr. Lattimore?
That's what I have. Questions?
All right, then we're gonna move on to Mrs. Scullard.
Good evening. If you had a chance to look at my workshop schedule, Hinckley and Finlayson are very, very similar. A welcome back letter, just kind of sharing with the staff what our focus is going to be on through our PLC work, as well as really diving into our SEL and social emotional learning. We are hired up. We have 2 new teachers on staff, and we will be conducting some interviews this week for pair positions that are open at Hinckley Elementary. My goals for this year, you can see there, we are in 2nd year of full implementation of Bridges, so ensuring that everyone is following that with fidelity. Number Corner was not taught with as much fidelity as we would like this last year, so that will be a huge focus of ours. We saw enormous growth through our math numbers with Bridges, so we're going to continue to hit that pretty hard. Making sure that we are working through with SCRED to build a resource bank of various interventions that we can use, and making sure that we're looking at the data to ensure that that child is progressing. And if not, then we need to change something, which has been something that we haven't necessarily done a great job with. So we are going to continue to work on that. making sure all of our new people are acquainted and feel welcomed and are understanding our processes and procedures at Hinckley Elementary, nobody new at Finlayson. Continuing to improve teacher evaluations, we changed that policy last year. I got into more classrooms, but I wanna make sure that I'm giving them more meaningful feedback. So I'm going to survey the staff of what they would like to see from me when I'm in there for not a formal observation. Family engagement and communication continues to always be a goal. I talked a little bit about our PLCs during Mr. Lattimore's report, but one thing we're seeing is we've had our ELA curriculum amplify for a number of years now, and we're still seeing some gaps. So that is where our PLC work will come in at, is how do we better our instruction? What are we missing? So very, very excited to start digging into that. It's going to be a huge undertaking. That's going to be very, very worthwhile. We will have a member of Resources and Solutions come to our PLCs once a month, who will help dig into some of that standards work. Mr. Masterson also has in his report the enrollment. You can see kind of class sizes there. Come back to handbooks in just a minute. Reading Corps. We do have a Reading Corps member for Finlayson this year. This is our 5th year with Reading Corps. We are slated for 2 at Hinckley Elementary, 1 at Finlayson, and 1 for early reading services and early reading tutor at Hinckley Elementary. Before the federal monies stopped, we had 1 hired for Finlayson, 1 hired for Hinckley. So those are secured, and right now we're waiting for the funding to be released from the government. As of today, that hasn't happened yet. So we're kind of in pause mode right now of hiring those last 2 tutors, but as soon as that money does, if it gets released, we'll continue to search for those candidates. But as of right now, we have 1 at Finlayson and 1 at Hinckley. They do great work. We see a ton of growth with the interventions that they provide. They're working with those kids that are just about at grade level. So continued support from them has been wonderful. Some changes at Hinckley Elementary with the layout. Daycare is taking over one of the preschool rooms for this year, and looking at the plan that we had talked about was then moving down to the 1st grade wing, making it kind of a separate area on their own. With some of the staff cuts, we've been able to create kind of a meeting room and a makeshift library. I was in there today. That's coming together nicely. And then we'll go back up to handbooks. We didn't have a ton of changes in the staff handbook. Pretty much just our start time was changed a little bit, and staffing, updated the names, those type of things. Other than that, the changes were the same. Other than I just hit confidentiality a little bit more, making sure that student data is only shared with them and their families. It shouldn't be announced out loud, that type of thing. It's personal and confidential. The student handbook. Really the only thing that changed, again, we updated some names, start times, tardies. Talked about during that first, we had only the teacher that apology was made to. We just updated that to, that could be to any, whether it's another student that's a victim or another staff member, so we just updated that a little bit. We included some time in the reflection room, which also could look at in-school suspension. So we added those type of things in there. That grid there that talks about restorative practices, we use that quite a bit with our families, so we left that in there. Again, start times, that had changed. Last year we really followed our handbook to a T with our bus and our transportation, worked very closely with our transportation department. We had held many meetings. The one thing that we noticed is we were not doing a very good job of, on step 3, where it says parents, we must meet with the parent before that student gets back on the bus, and that's one thing we wanna make sure that we're doing a little bit better job of this year, and it is in there, so, we will focus on that. Conference dates were changed, other than that, just staffing updates. Same with Joe, the substitute handbook, did not change, and Mrs. Lee updated our preschool handbook, which hadn't been done in a number of years, so, we just kinda added the curriculum that we're currently using, which is vertically aligned with the rest of our school, which is fantastic, updated some staffing, updated the times and dates that we will meet, talked about early childhood family education, the TS goal, which is what the assessment we use for our preschoolers, we talked about that. Talked about our attendance and importance of communication, what breakfast and lunch looks like. So just really a good update of our preschool programming. Anybody have any questions regarding handbooks for me?
Bonnie, in the student parent handbook, do you have alternate times for the shortened day on Wednesday?
Yes. Not in the school hours, I think it's in the bell schedule. Would you like to see it listed on the school hours?
Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
I was seeing the times on page 4.
Yeah.
What page is the bell schedule on?
It looks like the only place it's listed, Toby, would be under the bus policy, so I can
Oh,
up that
okay.
date under, I can update it under that first school hours, I think that's a good point, so. I
Okay,
apologize, I missed that.
no worries.
I will add Wednesday hours. Thank you for catching that. Any other questions or concerns from me?
So Mrs. Scholar is looking for a motion to approve staff handbook, the student parent handbook, the HES student substitute handbook, FES substitute handbook, and the preschool handbook.
I'll make the motion to approve.
A second.
There's a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
I think Bonnie has put together a good student handbook, but I just disagree with the early release on Wednesday, and I realize it's not your decision, but that's why I'm gonna vote no on this motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
We'll do roll call. Leo,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Toby,
No.
Janelle,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Jody, yes. Thank you, principals, Mr. Lattimore and
Thank you.
Mrs. Scholar. We are moving on to the technology director.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to present my first ever technology director report. So since January, when I started, I've had a lot of fun working here, drinking from a fire hose, learning all the things. It's been exciting. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. So let me get into the meat and potatoes. So this report kind of summarizes key activities, achievements, and initiatives. I've seen a common theme that the principals and superintendent were presenting goals. So if you allow me to present some personal goals at the end, I'll do that as well. So we've been busy with device setups for staff, students, support staff. I think over 250 devices we've set up over the summer. So they should be ready to deploy for the school year. 60 of those devices we had previously from ESSER funds. So we got those set up and we're prepared to deploy those as well. I noticed, we look at the cost optimization and service review. I identified a service that wasn't being used with our Hapera Deladeo, so our content filtering / classroom management tool. Our iPads don't actually allow for classroom monitoring, so I removed those licenses so we don't have to pay. I think it was like 350 licenses we're paying for. And then also those iPads weren't actually being filtered, so I worked with Deladeo to install a proxy server which allows for those iPads to be filtered just like our Chromebooks do at the high school. If you don't know what the filtering is or what it consists of, then you can reach out to me and we can go over that stuff. Some IT operations, these are kind of aside from our day-to-day typical routine tasks. So we did student roll-in and staff device replacement, been ongoing throughout the summer. I'm going to be implementing the beginning of the school year GLPI. It's a IT service management tool. It's going to be a help desk / asset tracking tool for the IT team. So we'll be able to triage all of our help desks, so anybody can send a ticket to help at ISD 2165 or HF K12 MNUS. We'll all be able to see it, so Pat, Michelle, and I will be able to see any requests or issues that come into the ticket system, and we'll be able to respond to that. So you don't have to reach out to one individual, you can reach out to the team and I'll be able to see it, and that should be able to triage and streamline some our workflow and help us to improve our customer service. See what else we got. So our computer lab at the elementary school, those were all on Windows 10. Windows 10, as we know, if you don't know, now you know, will be going away as of October of this year. So all those devices, instead of replacing them, we upgraded them to Chrome OS Flex, which was a very cost-effective option, I believe, that'll allow us to prolong those devices and until we make a plan to replace that computer lab. Let's see, FES paging systems completed, so we'll be working with administration to get all the paging responses and recordings down. If you'd like to do pre-recorded stuff, we can do that too, but I'll get a training manual together so you guys will be able to utilize that. That's exciting. Let's see. I've been working on Information Security Committee and policy development. So it's highly recommended from ECMEC that Hinckley-Finlayson has an Information Security Committee. It aligns with CIS and CIS standards. And so we'll be working at the beginning of the year implementing that and getting that rolling. We really want to work on building a strong security culture at Hinckley and improving our security posture. I think it's really important, especially with the rise of the looming threats that we see every day. Students in K-12 space is really a huge risk factor at this time. And with the emergence of AI, it's even more serious. So I really think that that's going to be a good initiative. Let's see, what else? Another change, so we moved from, last year we were using InfoSec as our cybersecurity awareness training. We're moving to a company called Cybernaut. It's a really cool gamified style security awareness where people get acorns and there's different leaderboards and things like that. So when you complete your trainings and you successfully report phishing emails, you get these acorns and you get on the leaderboard and then there's prizes and all that fun stuff. So it should be a fun way to get everybody engaged into just being more cyber aware. So Smart board installations, we were able to get 6 smart boards, which is pretty awesome. We'll have one here, one at the high school, and 4 at the Hinckley Elementary School. Those should be installed and ready to go for the school year. Let's see.
What's a smart board?
Interactive whiteboard.
Okay.
So basically it's a giant Android tablet, so you can project your computer to the smart board, you can interact with it, you can annotate on top of whatever is projected on the screen. It actually also acts as a whiteboard, so you can use with a interactive pen.
Okay.
There's all kinds of different collaborative features now with the V5s, so we can cast whatever's on the screen to the student's device, and then they can put their little notes or whatever on that. So that'll be a work in progress to train staff on that, but I think it's a really cool tool to be able to improve classroom learning. All right. So let's keep moving. Some future initiatives. Been working with Bruce and our transportation company, Busright, to implement a Busright parent app. This allows for parents to see where their students are, to be able to get notifications when their students are about to be dropped off or picked up. I think parents can have control over when they get those notifications, say if they need a 10-minute reminder, hey, the bus is coming, you better get ready, get out the door. I think there's been, some issues with parents claiming that their students weren't getting dropped off at the right spot or at the right time. So this provides some accountability for them to say, hey, yeah, your student got dropped off at 8:05 or got picked up at 8:05 a.m. It says right here on the app, and you can see that as well. Let's see. If you have any other questions on future initiatives, then definitely reach out to me. But does anybody have any other questions?
It says a marquee sign replacement that is no longer supported. It's being used right now, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay.
It is being used. The software, so there's right now that marquee sign, the communication is ran off of a server, a Windows 10 server. I can put an extended security update on there, which will prolong it for another year. But I wanted to get that on there just so it's on our radar, because if anything were to happen to that server or to that sign, there would be no support for that. So we would be responsible for covering that cost.
Okay. And I have one other one. It says you did backroom clean out or disposal of old tech.
Yep.
Was that a cost, or did we sell them, or do we give them away, or?
Actually, we get, so there are some things that are really old that we're not gonna get anything for them, but we will actually get paid for a lot of those devices that we recycle.
You got rid of them, that's good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Is the bus app like a real time with each individual bus?
Yep.
So parents can see
For
when-
your student, yep. So whatever bus route they're on, yeah.
That's pretty cool. And when does that roll out? And when do parents find out about?
Right now, Busright is gathering some old data that they need to integrate into their system to be able to accurately produce, to be able to produce accurate information. So we're working with them. I was hoping that we can get it rolled out for the beginning of the year, but that's the goal.
Hopefully before cold weather.
At least before winter.
Yeah.
And yeah, before winter, that'd be great, because that's where we have a lot of the delays and hangups, so.
Nice.
Yep.
It has been really nice for our secretaries when a parent calls in,
Yes.
because our secretaries have it, and they're able to see where the bus is on the route. So they're able to communicate with that parent to say, hey, yeah, they're running a little behind, looks like they're maybe 3 stops away from your house or something like that. So it's been very nice for that side of things as well.
But is it only gonna be able to be accessed by parents?
So we have the admin side,
Yep.
and then the parents will have their own.
But I just mean a community member somebody out there at large could not track.
No.
It's
So if you do-
unique and specific for each.
Yes, yep. each individual parent will have their own login, so
Okay.
username and password to get into the app.
Nice,
Yeah.
thank you.
And we'd set up multi-factor authentication also for that, so there shouldn't be any issues.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike. Next up is community ed report. Becky.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. I just want to say thank you for a few minutes of your time tonight. I know this is probably not the weightiest issue you're going to discuss tonight, but it is one of significance, and I do sincerely mean that. Just to introduce this, we did have a subcommittee out of our community ed advisory that met this last year and submitted an update to our community use facility policy 902, which you approved last fall. One of our goals with that policy update was to provide clarity for the community ed office in determining rental rates, just to keep it real simple and clear. So that brings us to our issue. We have had the craft fair at Hinckley-Finlayson schools for the last 40 to 45 years. A very rich history. Historically, Superintendent Mr. Ostrand, anybody recalls him, and I'm sure many of you do, the school board wanted to support this event, and every year for the benefit of the community, because the event pulled in such a large number of people to the community and our district. Typically, it's been the second largest attended event in Hinckley. So kind of in digging into a little bit of backstory of this, I called Krista Matson, our previous, I know many of you remember her as well, our previous community ed coordinator for more of this story, and she did verify this by stating there was an understanding with Mr. Jack Almos and the school board that Hinckley-Finlayson would be supportive of this event, and for a number of years, this group was only charged custodial fees for having that day of the craft fair. So in recent years, we've continued, they have continued to receive a discounted rate, and by that, we mean, when I looked at the numbers, it looked like they were charged for the amount of hours they were actually, the event was actually held, not their full time that they were actually in the building. So it was kind of a discounted rate. We still made considerable revenue on the craft fair. So we've had a divided opinion whether this should be continued or not. Whether we should continue to give them this discount, and so we're bringing this to the school board. And I also wanted to remind you, this is in my report, but our board policy that was approved last fall does allow a change in the rental rate as stated in the policy 902. Facilities use rental rates are subject to change with approval from the superintendent. So, you know, we have a policy and we try to adhere to it, but we can have some exceptions. So, just a couple discussion points that were brought up by our committee. Community ed office needs clarity regarding rental rates to provide clear guidance for determining rates. We all know that. There was not a signed contract or a signed agreement for this previous understanding. Additional revenue is positive for the school district. This could create questions for other rental agreements. And you know, obviously we all know prices have gone up over the years. So there's kind of a group that would like to, this is the policy. No matter what happened in the past, I shouldn't say no matter what happened in the past. What happened in the past is the past, and this is the present. So I want to clarify that. The other group is feeling this has been a tradition for 40 to 45 years for Hinckley-Finlayson. This was a unique agreement with the district and our superintendents and the craft fair organizers that has endured through 2 administrations. And you know, I've been here for 20 years. It sounds like a historical journey here. I've been here for 20 years, and this is the only agreement that I know of like this. So, you know, it's not like, oh, we've got these all over, you know, these little agreements with people. Originally, this group was only charged for custodial costs. The rates have gone up over the last few years. But what is proposed to them for this year would be a 32% increase from the previous year. That's why we've really had kind of a rub. This is very good for businesses, vendors, attendees, and the community. Again, we believe it is the second highest attended event. I know I saw on Facebook pictures of just a flood of cars that come into Hinckley for this event. The school facilities are for the community's respectful use and belong to the community. We always have to keep that at the forefront. It's very positive to have people come into our schools, see our buildings, and have a welcoming experience. And then, last thing I want to say is community education is different than pre-K through 12 in that, we used to say it's kind of womb to the tomb. It's a community inclusive venture that is community ed, and it serves as a connection between the school and the community for all ages. Partnerships like these are important to build a vibrant community and important to build school support and involvement. So feedback on, and so what we're really presenting is, one thought that came up is we would increase the price, I think it's a 4% increase, to like $900, increase it $25 a year, up to $1,000, which would be in 4 years, and then reevaluate this partnership. I would like to have feedback.
Do you have any stats on custodial fees and the lights and the actual cost?
The 1 year, and I can break that down for you, the 1 year in 2021, that was when we went through a staffing transition, they were charged that $1,278, and that was because the custodian was here the entire time. Typically, the custodian now is on call. So, the custodial charges are pretty minimal for it now. It really, the costs that they are, what we're charging them for is really rental space. Is the building open? Yes, but the building would also be open, typically for swimming on a Saturday too. So the building would be heated. It's deer opening weekend, so we're starting to get into some weather. We do make money. We're not losing money. So if we would charge $900, we would make money.
You have on here, Becky, that the subcommittee, or this came from the subcommittee of community ed. Am I understanding that?
Right.
So has the subcommittee brought it to the full community ed committee?
We have not. And here's the reason why, Jody, and we could, but here's the reason why. We did have this subcommittee that was really focusing on our facilities. And they met last fall. We have gotten 5 or 6 new advisory committee members. We thought, okay, we have 6 people that we can't quite come to agreement. If we, expand it out to 12, I don't know if that would give us a clear picture. There's a lot of people that don't, are just kind of understanding this. They're just coming into the community ed advisory. We just felt it was it was best served just having it go to the subcommittee. But I could certainly take that up as.
I guess I would like to see it go back to community ed and there be a recommendation from community ed. If this falls under the umbrella of community ed, which I think it does because there's a subcommittee under that they bring it back to the school board for a recommendation. No, that's just my opinion. That's kind of how the school board gets things from the property, from teaching and learning, from all our committees. We kind of get a recommendation from that full committee instead of, did you say 6 people?
Yes.
Instead of 6 people of the subcommittee.
So we would add probably another 6 to that number. And then would it be the majority rules? Is that what you're?
I think it was because the subcommittee was kind of, I don't know how to, so divided. We were kind of split. So I think to take it to the whole advisory, because there are new ones on there, it's turned over a lot in the last couple of years.
And I understand that, but so has the board, and our superintendent is different, our principals are different.
Well, I think the committee wanted it brought to the school board because our advisory doesn't meet until October, and they need an answer, right?
True.
Our first advisory isn't until, well, I don't think a date has been set, but
Yeah, we
it's
can-
usually the end of September, beginning of October, and I think they need an answer. Right.
We meet in August, but that's not a business meeting,
Right.
so. And, a number of our members had maybe come to two meetings, 1 or 2 meetings. So it just seemed, it just, and I take your comments very seriously, Jody. It just seemed when we were trying to decide who we should release this to come up with kind of a decision, the focus group that had been thinking about this in our facilities, that seemed to be the go-to group to go to. And we could, we could bring it to the larger, to
Yeah, I think we probably put Pam in a bad spot by, this is the policy, but we've been doing this for 47 years. I think it is a beautiful asset for the community, what we offer. We're still making money. I just think we should charge $900 and increase it 3% a year or something for 5 years and look at it. It's unbelievable the number of people that show up for that. And I believe there's another 14, 15 craft shows that benefit off the schools, that they're getting people to town and they're more the local people that are benefiting off of that. So I'd like us to vote on it tonight and give them some guidance.
Is Joanne still heading up the, have you talked with her?
Leo has, and Pam has.
I have,
And we have, by email, there's been correspondence.
So what feedback has she said if rates are raised a little bit?
she don't mind a little bit, but she thought that increase up to $12.77 was out of line.
The 32% to her was, I think that was, extreme.
And really, I don't even know that it's something the board has to vote on, because right in policy 902, it states that the superintendent, it's subject to his approval, so I don't even know that it's.
But I think Brian does not want to get caught in the middle.
I struggle with being asked to follow the handbook how it is, and I hear the 32%, that's a big number, but then I just worry who else I'd like the board to decide, to be honest.
So really and truly what would happen is that this is, when you look at it, it's, 32% increase sounds like a lot. However, it's about $400.
It's about $400.
It's about $400 and that's for the entire event. Really and truly, that cost is gonna be passed on to the vendors that are selling. So when they do it, they charge their fees. And if you split that up between all the vendors, it's really not gonna be that significant. Because of how it is done. I don't know, maybe that 32% is a lot, but really and truly, that's just how it's gonna happen. Many years ago, I did the craft fair, and there's a lot of vendors, and so there was charges for electrical, there was charges, you had your standard booth space, and I don't even remember what that was, and then for every additional, footage or whatever, you paid an additional amount. So it could add up for them, for the vendors, but when you break it down on a whole with how many vendors it's not gonna necessarily be as painful as it maybe sounds.
Do they also charge for admission?
Yeah,
There's a
so
dollar.
does the admission go, who does the admission go, does it go to this, is the school just receiving the rent?
The rental. That's their,
And granted, setting up an event is very time consuming, it's a lot of work,
it's a lot of it.
it's a lot of work.
I think it's bringing in a lot of money and people to the community. They're seeing our facilities, which personally I'm very proud of our facilities.
Which gym did they go in? The new one that just got the new floor?
Small gym.
Yeah.
The oldest gym, the small one.
They were in
The one off
they
the
were in
cafeteria.
Yeah, they were in that one, so now it has a new floor, so I don't know.
And we talked about putting, covering down.
And they got the covering from before.
Okay.
So there's no risk to that new floor.
We always used to put tarps down, we used to have conferences in that gym. There's big gray tarps that would cover that. Keith just needs to find them. We haven't used them in a long time, but we have them somewhere.
You know, I would just like to add, I think what's kind of at the crux of the matter that I see, and again, I apologize for taking up the time because I know there's a lot of more serious issues. I think what is felt like a bit of a, we've worked with a group that's had an agreement on, nothing written, but a spoken agreement, it's gone through 2 administrations, and then this year, well, we're done with that, you know, and maybe we need to be done with that. Maybe that's the direction we need to go. I don't know, but I think that's what, I don't think it's just the money. I think it just feels, okay, you know, I thought we were kind of working together on this. And I guess that's what really affected me as and Leo, you know, we met, you know, I've talked with everyone. I don't know of another agreement that they're gonna say, well, we've got this same, no, I don't know of another one. So I don't think we're putting the district in any liability there.
Not that I've known, I've been on for a couple of years, so.
And if it is, that's a good problem. Let's bring people into our buildings, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't wanna put you in a tough spot, Becky, but do you have a recommendation like coming from, or do you not feel comfortable because it's so split, or?
Well, that's why I'm trying to be
Just
very
a little-
careful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, but I would go along with what Leo said. When I sent this out, and I won't say who, you know, this person said this or this.
Yeah, no.
I suggest, let's just charge them $1,000. You know, that's up about $150, it's $200, you know, it's a compromise right down the middle. And then it kind of shows respect for a long time understanding. But then also to say, but this will have to sunset eventually. You know, I don't know, I always try to find a middle ground if you can, if you can't. I guess I feel too, you know, I'm always trying to build community goodwill.
Yep.
So I think if we can make a compromise, and then maybe we need to set, you know, have, it's $900 or $1,000, but have a set price for this year, maybe say and we'll hold that for 2 years, then it sunsets.
Yeah, and get that all in writing,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah.
I do actually, I like that much better. That feels a lot better. Because then there can be some more communication, especially with Joanne versus it just a surprise. Out of
Yeah.
the blue.
If you set it at $1,000, let's do some statistics here. Let's find out what it costs to put the tarp down, light it, mop it, all those things, put it back like it was. Find out those costs and come to us next year. Is 1,000 too much? Is 1,000 not enough? But you gotta have some statistics here. I think 1,000 would be great, but why don't we know the cost?
Well,
Well,
I
we
mean,
have a
we haven't-
policy for the cost.
yeah, we have a policy for the cost.
We
of
have
what
a policy for the
yeah.
For
cost.
how much we
and-
should charge.
And we're undercharging
Yeah.
because of a handshake 47 years ago, basically.
Yeah, and that's continued through Mr. Alamos too, you know,
Yeah.
How much does it cost?
Well,
It should be this $12.77.
it should be the 12
That's
cents.
what they should be charged.
Yeah,
That's what they should be charged.
and
But I
they
do
have,
like meeting in the middle and sunsetting it, because I don't think we can keep going outside of policy.
I agree,
And I wanna be, I think it's great that they've done it all these years. I think that's wonderful.
and I also, I'm very protective, of the community at office. Whether it's Pam, who's done a wonderful job, or whoever's there, I don't want them having to, negotiate or make decisions like this. So it should be something very firm and that's set. And that's why, she did it right by the book. She did what she was supposed to do.
But also be fair to Joanne.
Right, and the community.
Yeah. I will say it does bring in a lot of people, and it's not just this community. I mean, there's been so many craft fairs that have popped up in Pine City and Mora, that you do have people coming from all over that weekend and going all over.
Is ours unique in how we set that up, or do some community eds, do they charge each vendor a price to come in?
They
to
do charge, I mean, you have to rent your
But
space.
community ed does it, not,
They do that,
I was saying like,
yeah,
because I know some of them, it's the community ed says, no, if you want this table, it costs this much, if you want
Yeah.
3 tables, it costs this much as you come in.
and you're right, Mr. Latimer, I mean, sometimes community
Yeah.
ed is doing the whole thing. I mean, this is not, it's not a real labor-intensive thing for us, for community ed or for the school. It's really opening the building and then the custodians are gonna do, and we charge for the dumpster, custodians are gonna have to do, some cleanup afterwards.
But it also benefits the students, because aren't the students selling food? There's
Can be.
fundraisers,
Yeah.
fundraisers.
Can
I
be.
think the hockey association was
Yeah.
in there last year,
Yeah.
weren't they, in the concession stand?
Yep,
I don't think that was
Or is that
PTO.
2 years?
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
PTO.
Yeah, PTO did it last year, but I think hockey was going to take it back this year.
So then there's that side too. So it is benefiting directly the students.
well, with the, and like, I guess we are looking for board action, but I know superintendent can make this decision, and I understand why you're hesitant to. If we said $1,000 and in 2 years this will sunset, I mean, think that's too high, think too low, I mean,
Reevaluate in 2 years.
yeah, reevaluate in 2 years, 2 years.
And then that would give Joanne time to
Mhm.
think about things.
So then I'm looking for a motion, recommendation on the craft fair agreement.
I'll start out with one for $900 with an increase of 3% for the next 5 years.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Is the school losing money with that proposal, Becky?
No,
Okay.
no, we do make money.
So if you got it, wasn't it 4% if you got it up? If you did increase it 4% over the next couple of years, then that was up at the 1277?
That made it 12,000.
I don't remember what that was. Cause this was 32%, was it something?
First 2
I
years.
think 3%, we get it close to 1,000 in 5 years, I think.
2 years, you're at 954, so
Okay,
In how many years?
2,
2.
955.
so it'd be less than 4 probably to go over 1,000.
So there's a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you for the time on that.
Thank you, Becky. Thanks, Becky. Next up is board committees. Does any board member wish to present from committees this past month?
I had a SCRED meeting, it was just our organizational meeting, so setting the next meetings and those fun things. Our legislative forum is coming up, it was set for October 9th, but there is a conflict with that date that was made known at our meeting, so the date will be revisited, so as soon as that new date gets put out, I'll make sure to let you know. But that was much, Nicole did give us a rundown of the SOC retreat that they had. It was good feedback about setting goals, discussing roles, and planning for the future direction of SCRED, our districts, and the programs. So.
And then I attended the Pine County Leadership Meeting, and that was at Pine Technical and Community College. They, the president of the school gave us a tour of all of the additions and everything that's going on at the school, and they're really doing some really good things, and they're really expanding. If you haven't been to the campus in a while, I mean, it looks great. Much significant improvement. And they're really looking at like the quality of the programs that they're offering. There was a discussion about PSEO and how that can affect the schools. Superintendents shared about that. The college president, he also then shared how he's looking and willing to kind of work with the high schools, because he sees it two ways. You know, one that can benefit the student with the PSEO, you know, and they're always welcoming the students. But then there's some students that want to do PSEO, but they're not ready. Once they graduate from high school, they're still in limbo, not really ready about what direction do I want to go. So, you know, we saw that it could go both ways, and he was very willing to work with the schools. You know, it seemed kind of even like trying to kind of customize things. So that was really good. There were all three legislators that represent the county were supposed to be there. Two of them were not able to make it, but Representative Nelson was there, so he talked quite a bit. A lot of the discussion ended up being more around some of the county, with some of the things going on there, but there was, you know, just discussion legislatively what was happening financially. So that was kind of it.
All right, we will move on to budget calendar, unfinished business. Oh, wait, communications. Communications, no communications. Budget calendar and unfinished business.
Being in August, we are especially watching registrations and unenrollments, things like that. Bridget and I will begin working on the levy. There's some summer levy work we have to do here before September, but then we'll do quite a bit with the board, included from September all the way through December. So we'll also work on getting out our free and reduced education benefit forms out. We've already started communicating about that, but it's more than just the free and reduced lunch. It has other impacts on our funding. So trying to change or improve the communication on that. But really what we'll continue to do, like I said at the beginning, was watch those enrollments in case we need to make any adjustments with sections, things like that, but no recommended changes as of now based on anything that's happened so far.
All right, we will continue moving on to Jake Pride. Does anybody have any additions to Jake Pride? All right, then we will move on to our policy, Indian education.
We reapprove this every August, so I'm recommending renewal again. There are no changes, but this policy helps with our funding and programming. This policy doesn't set our programming, but it helps us stay in compliance with all our equal opportunity policies. So looking for approval of our Indian education policy.
Is there a motion to accept the Indian education policy?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the bus driver syllabus.
Not a lot of changes to this. We did set the fall dates for emergency evacuation. Spring break dates will be determined later. Number 12, we just added also some terminology around not being able to use vaping products either. We had some double interventions in there, so if you look under number 15 with discipline, we kept the ones under driver intervention, but the discipline procedures, they're hit in those first 6, just we had some of them typed a couple times. Number 20, I had that in a different color as I was waiting for the school board to approve the handbooks at the buildings. Now that the handbooks have been approved, I will update arrival times for those buildings before we give this to the bus drivers. And the last change in there, I believe it's the last one, is Bruce just wanted to highlight for bus washing that the inside of buses need to be kept clean at all times. We had just the kept clean, but at all times. The biggest reason is because last 2 years we have had that found against us when we do our DOT inspections. So he's really going to hit that with the drivers as they're coming back to work. But those are the changes. Any questions on the bus driver syllabus?
If there are no changes, I'm looking for a motion to accept the bus driver syllabus.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up are the 7 new policies for policy approval.
In each policy, I highlighted the changes. Policies number 4, 512 through number 7, 802 are new for us. But they are required. So those are, the first 3 were just legislative statute changes, and then the next 4 are brand new policies for us.
Does anybody want a policy pulled, or do you want to approve them all at one time?
I'm okay with all.
So then I'm looking for a motion to approve policy 416, drug, alcohol, cannabis testing. Policy 418, drug-free workplace, drug-free school. Policy 425, staff development and mentoring. Policy 512, school-sponsored student publications and activities. Policy 516, student medication and telehealth. Policy 515, protection and privacy of pupil records. And policy 802, disposition of obsolete equipment and material.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up are 5 new policies for first read. Does anybody have any questions? Ryan, do you have any
I'll
comments?
just add, the bottom 3 will also go to the teaching and learning committee when we get our first meeting by September.
All right, so those will be up for next month. Next up is our annual transportation report.
Recommending authorization to submit this to MDE. MDE does have a little extra, but this is what the typical report for the school board has looked like. So are there any questions on the 24-25 data as far as total miles, field trip mileage, costs? We did see driver supervisor costs go up. A lot of that is because of paraprofessional and special ed routes. We're seeing more and more of those where there's more needs to have sometimes multiple staff on some of these special ed routes. But otherwise it was pretty consistent with what we expected to have as far as the miles we put on and the costs in our transportation.
If there are no questions, I'm looking for a motion to accept the transportation report.
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
At one time, I thought that if it was this report, a different one used to break down buses by the cost. I think before your time, I'm
Yeah, I don't know
thinking,
that I've ever seen it that way, by
don't know.
route or by each bus.
each bus, I thought. I don't know how, difficult that would be to do or not, but,
I can ask Bridget.
okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the election resolution.
The board has to approve a resolution by tomorrow. I have to send it to Pine County, Kennebec, and Aiken counties. Candidates still can file for school board elections till 4 p.m. tomorrow, so at 4 I will send this to the auditors of each county. I would just tell the board that the only thing I would change on this is if anyone files tomorrow. We did have one addition today, which is who is highlighted. So we have 9 candidates currently. This is currently what I would submit to the counties, but I would just tell the board if anyone else files, I will add their name before the deadline tomorrow.
Can you, I don't have the number 9.
Richard McNutt.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions regarding the election resolution? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve it.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the playground quote.
Looking for approval to remove some topsoil and get the area where the Hinckley Elementary Garden currently was ready for the daycare playground. You have a quote on there of $6,180. So I'm looking for approval to go forward with that quote so we can get the new playground put in place.
Did we only need one quote?
It's under 25,000, so,
Okay.
yep.
Sorry, I just almost had a moment.
If there are no questions, I'm looking for a motion to accept the playground quote.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the DNR garage door quote.
Last spring, those on the facilities committee will remember that we met with the DNR, talked about 2 different garage doors. One has been replaced already, DNR paid for that. The district had agreed that they were gonna put a door on the east end of the building. They just right now have barn doors, we're gonna put a rolling door. We had initially gotten a bid based on DNR's recommendation or request, which was $3,500, but since then they've come forward to Keith and I and asked us to widen that to make it easier. Well, I didn't put that word in very well. To make it easier to get their trailers in and out. So they have given a new quote of $7,000 to put the same door they want, but wider. And they did want me to remind the board that we did increase their rent to help with additional costs. The amount of additional rent is just under $3,500, so it's about $3,480 when I did the math today. But they are asking for a little bit wider door, which kind of doubles the price for the rolling garage door on the east end of the DNR building.
What is the how are the renovations? How's the cost coming along with those? Under, over than projected, or?
Right on what's projected. I mean, most of it's Keith and his staff are doing
Okay.
in-house on their own. The first door came right on budget, just what we were
Okay.
expecting.
If there are no other questions, I'm looking for a motion to approve the DNR garage door quote.
I'll make that move.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is approval of architect bid. for
So-
daycare.
Sorry, Jody. Part of being able to open a daycare is we have to, and I believe it's from the county, we have to have bids on, an architect bid on the spaces. So I have 2 quotes, but I want to clarify that tonight we're only approving phase 1. Phase 2, and the reason we're not doing both right now is we need to get phase 1 going, because if we continue to wait, we're not going to be able to open It's kind of what's holding everything up, it's what's holding up the county. We can't get fire marshals in, so we finally got the second quote. So I'm only talking about phase one, which is the pre-K room, which is right by Hinckley Elementary's entrance. Both companies gave a similar bid. The first company is the Ayers and Ayers. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what I'm gonna go with. For the phase one, they had a quote of $69.51. The second company who we met with first is Widseth. They're out of Duluth, and they had a quote for phase one of about $4,500. And what phase one, what really we're gaining out of, neither company believes there's any major construction that needs to happen. That room has recently been redone anyway, back in 2020. But what it'll help with is we have to have building code review, we have to work with the city of Hinckley, the county, the state fire marshal, verify documents and that the existing space meets daycare code. So in order to move forward, we have to have this, which seems a little silly to me, but I don't know daycare things that they're gonna come approve basically a brand new space that we're already running 3 and 4 year olds out of, but it is required. We've checked with the county multiple times. So I'm looking for approval of phase one only. Both companies know we're only approving phase one. We very well may come back to phase two even in September or as soon as we can fill the first room. But I'm looking for approval to go forward with phase one, and my recommendation would be with the second quote. It's cheaper, and they were much more responsive to my asks when Mrs. Scudder and I met with them. I think Dave and Angela were there the first time. The second company's been a little bit harder to get numbers from, so.
That's at Ayers and Ayers.
I would not recommend the Ayers and Ayers. I would recommend the one from Widseth, who Dave and Angela, that's who you met with back quite a few months ago now. And the price is cheaper at $4,500.
And has the application been submitted?
It has been submitted, but it can't go forward without the architect part of it. That's, the county's waiting on the architect to come out and do its review.
And do they have any kind of date as to when they think?
I know they've been asking me for days, weeks, months now, when is this gonna happen? And the reason we went and got quotes is because initially they had quoted at phase one and phase two, and it was over that 25,000. So that's what, we have to go get a second quote, second bid. But now with the timing, we need to just focus on phase one. We'll come back to phase two shortly, but at the time they were very willing. I would need to check with them tomorrow to get timelines, but I know they have reached out to me almost weekly. Where are we at? We wanna work with you, so.
So it could potentially be open soon?
I don't know that I'm
I mean,
as.
if the county is willing to.
I hope I don't want to lead on, or I don't want to, I don't think we'll be ready by the first week of school. I don't know how fast the county will go. The other part, we can't advertise yet until we have the application in hand, so that's just part of the daycare rules, laws. So I'd also like to get this, so we can get the application approval, so we can start communicating. Sarah, Bridget, and Children's First Finance are working on a business plan. They have a proposal ready to go, but we need to have this first before I can bring a business plan to the school board.
So we have to spend money on this, the architectural part of it, before we get a business plan? Wouldn't it make sense to have a business plan first? I mean, what if the business plan says we're gonna lose money?
It doesn't. What they've currently proposed, including with this fee, is we would make money.
How many students would we need to be positive?
That's with 14 students and 2 staff members, and including some summer food service in there as well.
Do we have staff members hired?
We have 1 hired. We will get the second one once we start knowing how many kids are coming.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve, it would be quote number 2 in the board agenda for an architect bid for daycare.
I'll make the motion
To accept
For phase
open-
one.
for phase one.
Phase one.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
We'll do roll call. Leo?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Toby?
No.
Janelle?
Yes.
Angela? Jody, yes. Motion passes 6-1. Next up is the superintendent evaluation statement, and it reads as follows. The school board would like to commend Mr. Masterson's ability to strive for personal and district improvements. His commitment to the district is shown through his leadership, approachability, communication, and dedication. The school board looks forward to working with Mr. Masterson as we move forward into the 2025-2026 school year. Does anybody have any comments? Next up is closed session. I
No,
recommend.
we had that ad from,
Oh, I don't have my ad.
yep, it's, so the next is to go through Kelsey Smith's JV volleyball resignation was pulled. So the superintendent's recommending approval that of Kelsey Smith's resignation from JV volleyball.
I'll make a recommendation to approve that with thanks, regret that she submitted it based on the fact that I think she is an excellent coach and an excellent role model for the student athletes. And I feel we're losing a great coach, but we have already hired replacement. It's just kind of a, I guess I'm trying to take a stand that we keep losing too many good coaches. And it's not the administration's fault.
So there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
And now we are gonna go into closed session. I recommend to close the school board according to Minnesota statute 13D.05, subdivision 3C, to discuss district-owned property. I am looking for a motion to